Hello, and welcome to the Performer's Guide. My name is Krystin Railing, and today we will be discussing writing your business plan. Benjamin Franklin said, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. And I can't tell you how many times I encounter business owners who don't have a business plan. And they think, and they say, oh, I've been fully functioning as a business with no business plan. Why should I get one now? And before we even get started, I'll say, however successful you are now, if you wrote a business plan, you would be more successful, hands down. There's no question about that, because you'll be more clarified, you'll have things in writing, and you'll fill in the gaps as you're going. And as you start to write your business plan, you'll really realize how many gaps there actually are in your plan. And as you fill those in, it just becomes exponentially helpful. So this video is designed to help you get started with writing your business plan. Just to recap, the difference between your business plan and your business model is that the business plan is a written document that establishes your business's goals for the future and how you're going to attain those and the time frame in which those are going to be achieved. Whereas the business model is how the business functions in general now and potentially, and the ways in which it interfaces with your customers. So the model is how the business is formed and functions, and the business plan are the business goals for the future. Okay? I'd say that the business model and business plan are often very confusing in what the differences are for people. And again, people always ask, oh, what's the point of writing a business plan? What are the true benefits of taking so much time to write out a business plan? And I'll say that it helps you focus. I think a lot of times people are all over the board with their business ideas. And when you start writing them down, it really helps you realize how widely focused you are. And maybe you have multiple businesses or multiple markets or more than you could focus on, right? And then you get spread thin in your business. So when you write a business plan, you can narrow your focus so that you can achieve one goal at a time. And then it also allows you to break down the necessary steps needed to achieve those goals, right? A business plan allows you to also think of your short-term and your long-term goals. A lot of times people sort of have one or the other in mind, and they either know that in 5 years' time they want to be making $1 million, or they know that right now they need to be paying their bills. So it's helpful to have multiple tiers of objectives and goals so that you can break down those needs. And most importantly, I think that it helps you to communicate effectively with potential investors and business partners. So a lot of times you see someone who could potentially fund your business, and you go to them with your business idea, and they're immediately going to say, great, send me more information. And if you don't have anything written down and it takes you a long time to generate that information to send it to your investor, you're gonna lose faith of the investor. And so you want to be able to deliver that information quickly and as quickly as possible. So if you can have at least your skeleton of your business model and your business plan ready, then when you find an investor, and we'll go over investments in the next video, then you'll already have a few steps, you'll be a few steps ahead to be able to get your investments. And then all you'll have to do is splice it together to send the pitch. And then also, it helps you to identify potential weaknesses in your business strategy. So if you have a business that is really strong in some areas and struggling in other areas, then you're going to definitely want to write a business plan to see exactly where those weaknesses are. So you can create a strategy, and usually it turns into a funding strategy to make sure that your business succeeds. Okay. So there's many different templates and types of business plans out there that you could utilize to write your business plan. But in general, these are the main categories that you're going to find in a business plan. You're going to have the executive summary. You're going to have your company overview. You're going to have industry analysis, competitive analysis, products and services, marketing plan, distribution plan, operations plan, your management team, a financial plan, and an exit strategy. So we're going to break down each of those here for you. So the executive summary is really the most important part of your business plan because it's potentially the only thing an investor will read. It's like the first paragraph of your business plan and will become part of the first paragraph of your investor pitch. And so this needs to be the most comprehensive, clear section of your business plan. However, it should be written last. And this often gets overlooked because every time it's presented, the executive summary comes as number one. But it overwhelmingly is easier to write that after you've actually summarized everything below in depth. And then you can sort of compile that to create your executive summary. But you can start to formulate a little bit of it in the beginning, but then you'll definitely want to go back and edit it. Some things to include in your executive summary are a description of your business. And so that's who you are, who you serve, what products and services you offer, where you're located, the start date of your business, and your why. So it kind of goes through the who, what, where, when, why, how of your business. And so when we talk about some of these things, you don't want to get too in depth because you'll go into depth later on in the business plan, but you at least want to have that summarized. And then you want to explain why your company is uniquely qualified to succeed. And it's basically your competitive edge. You kind of want to just throw that in there in the beginning. Next, you have the company overview. And this is sort of like the more specifics of the history of your business. And I think a lot of times people go into too cavalier of details about their company, and you don't want to be too in depth because a lot of times people honestly just don't care or need to know too much. But they really need to know how long this business has been formed, what kind of legal entity you are, so that way they know how many people they need to deal with, and your financial accomplishments and large clients. You don't want to go too much into small details here. You can get lost in the small details. Next, you're going to want to do a market analysis. This is very important so that you understand what market you're stepping into and if it's actually a viable market that has money in it for you. And so it's helpful to know, am I stepping into a rising market or a declining market? Is this market oversaturated? And you can kind of start to analyze, is this the market you actually want to work in? And the thing you want to realize is that you as a business will likely have more than one target market. And so when you're doing this analysis, you can do it for multiple segments and multiple different demographics. And so when you're doing the analysis, you want to think of the market as a whole, and you want to think of the individual market, the customer, and then also the needs of that market, and really start to analyze that. And you can do a client avatar, it's called, to start to analyze, like, who is this customer and ideal client that I want to serve, and then really focusing on their current needs, which may be different than the products and services you currently offer. And this is generally a whole in people's business plans. And so you want to make sure that your products meet your market's needs. So what you want to think about when you're finding your target market is that you have a primary target market, and then you have multiple secondary target markets. And if you can really be clear about what these segments are, how they differ, how their needs differ, and which product goes to which market, then you're going to be able to streamline your business a lot better. And so the primary target market are the people who are most likely and probably already currently are purchasing your services. And so this is what you would call your niche market, and then you would provide a niche service to a very specific targeted market. And then you have your secondary market, which is any other group of people who could potentially buy your services. They might have less money, or it's just a market you're not currently focusing on, or currently don't have a product or service for that market. Then this would be a secondary market. And a secondary market could jump to become a primary target market, as long as you're really paying attention to the way that the market fluctuates and really listen to your clients' needs. Then you can sort of take a target market off the back burner, or take a service and sort of switch the importance around as needed. And that's the important thing to remember about your entire business plan, is the whole thing is fluid, and it's never one and done or totally complete. Then you really want to look at the relative market size. What is the 100% monetary possibility if you were to somehow generate a monopoly in this market, or not necessarily a monopoly, but become the most popular, where you were taking over all of the sales? What's the potential in the market, and then also the potential within your own business to provide those services? So if the relative market could be $1 billion available, but your business is small and can only generate $100,000 worth of revenue, then you can see where the scalability of your business is, if you understand what the relative market size is versus your current capacity to provide services to that market. And then you have the competitive analysis. And this is very important as well, because if you understand the market that you're stepping into, you're also going to want to understand who else is already in that market. And you have two different types of competitors. You have direct competitors and you have indirect competitors. And then you have your own personal competitive advantage against those two that you would use to leverage in your proposal to both the clients and a potential investor, of how is your business different than these other businesses, and what are they going to get different from those. And so direct competitors are people who businesses who have the same exact business model, services, is almost the same business, right? And then you have indirect competitors who provide a slightly different service, but are taking attention away from your business. And when you think about competitive analysis, it's easy to go, oh, I don't have any competitors, or I can't think of any indirect competitors. But you really want to focus on where are the people's attention going? Because that's where the money is where people are paying attention, where attention goes, money flows, right? And so if you can really understand who's pulling attention away from you, what's your advantage, and how can you focus that advantage to redirect the attention back onto your business? And it's really important analysis to do. And it's also important to do competitive analysis in both financial, like how much money are they actually making? You know, if you look at someone at the top of their industry and they're not making that much money, is this a industry that's viable right now? Maybe it's declining. And then also to see sort of the workings of the business. And so, okay, you go, I want to start this new business. I'm going to look at my direct competitors and see what they're up to, what's working, what's not, both through analysis and then also just looking at the business and their presentation and social media. And you can kind of start to get an idea of what you like and don't like about other businesses, and then use that as a leverage for your competitive advantage, right? Okay. Both the market analysis and the competitive analysis are both very important and often overlooked sections of business plans, and are usually done kind of partially. And the more you can do those, the better your business really is. And also you'll kind of really have an understanding of what your return on investment, time, and monetarily will be, like what is really the potential here. Okay, great. So again, your direct competitors are people who have the same type of business plan as you. So if you're a production company, it's going to be other production companies. If you're a performer, other performers. But an indirect competitor would be like Netflix or a movie theater or a live play, a book even, right? It's entertainment. So people want to be entertained. What kind of indirect competitors are pulling attention away from your production company? So you want to have a really good understanding of what all these are so that you can understand their pricing and services and leveraging what works and what doesn't for you and your business. And then again, you really want to focus on your competitive advantage when you're giving your value proposition, when you're giving your proposal, when you're giving your elevator pitch, when you're giving your spiel in general. You want to focus on the needs of your clients and your competitive edge to provide services to fill those needs. Okay? Then you want to go into a detailed products and services list. This is what's going to end up becoming your price sheet, right? And you want to kind of start general. I offer performances. I offer a general theme of product, right? Merchandise. And then you can go into subcategories, services. Like for me, I offered hula hooping, juggling, stilt walking, but that would all go under performances, right? And then now I offer business coaching and group coaching, and that's like a different service, right? And so then you could also have products and you want to list those out and then create subcategories of them all. And just to reiterate, a product is a physical, tangible item that someone literally purchases and then can hold in their hand. And there's like a really obvious exchange of money for item. And then a service is sometimes a little intangible, and there's a physical exchange for a monetary exchange. And so in the end, there's nothing to be held by the service unless there's a product attached to it. But a service in and of itself sort of vanishes when the service ends, whereas the product remains thereafter. So when you go over your products and services, you might not know your pricing yet, because you'll know based on your financial projections and some other financial analysis that you'll need to do beforehand. You might have a general idea of what your products and service list is, and then you'll want to go back and reanalyze those numbers. So next we have our marketing plan, and there's essentially 3 ways to market. There's only 3 ways in the new digital age, right? We have the old school way of promotional marketing. This is like business cards, pamphlets, flyers, physical things like that. And then other promotional marketing, such as commercials or radio ads, right? So these are sort of like, I would consider like the old school way of promotional marketing, right? And then you have the new age way of marketing. And that way, there's really only 2 ways. You have your digital and social media. And digital marketing is pretty much email marketing and through your website. This could be like having good SEO and doing ads through your website, and email marketing that's like driving traffic to a website. And then you have social media marketing, which is really more leveraging your social power and following to drive traffic to a sale, which could or could not go to a website. There's a lot of people who do excellent social media marketing that don't even have a website yet. And there's people who have website marketing and don't really utilize social media. And so you kind of want to figure out what your strong suit is. Everyone sort of has one. Either really great with creating banners and flyers and promotional marketing, and they can do press releases and the promotional stuff, do news runs, and get their face in newspapers and magazines. That'd be like promotional marketing. And then there's other people who are like, oh no, I'm a web developer and I'm really good with SEO and running ads and this kind of stuff. Then you'd be a digital marketer. Or some people are like, oh, I have 10,000 followers and I have no idea how I did that, and I don't have a website and want to generate income. You would do it through social media marketing. So just to reiterate, radio advertising, press releases, news interviews, newspapers, magazines, these are all like promotional marketing. And then you could do your own printed marketing advertising. And your digital marketing is pretty much just email and website. Popular social media marketing that people are utilizing right now: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Patreon, and obviously TikTok is a big new one that is popping up right now. So you're going to want to figure out which ones you understand and can leverage, and try to focus on 1 or 2. You want to have presence in all of them, but 1 or 2 you'll be able to really leverage for money. Distribution. So how are you distributing your services to your clients? You've got direct and indirect distribution. So people are either directly getting their services from you, or they're indirectly getting them from someone else that you're wholesaling your stuff directly to. Okay. Then you can mass distribute, You could do selective distribution or exclusive distribution. And so there's different ways that you can be in distribution. You can decide whether you want to just be available for everyone, or you're just available for the people you reach out to, or it's an exclusive offer. And that can just sort of start to give you an idea of like the scope and scale of the business. We're talking about like everyone, someone, certain people at this level. Are you talking to them directly, indirectly? Like really have an understanding of how you're distributing to your clients. And so here is a little chart of different types of ways you can distribute, right? So you're the manufacturer, you are creating a product, potentially in this scenario, and you can just sell it directly to the customer, or you could wholesale it to a retailer and they sell it to the customer. It's indirect, one level of indirect. Or you actually wholesale it to a wholesaler, and then the retailer, because there's certain retailers who only buy from wholesalers, so you'd become a distributor to the wholesaler, and then they would sell to the retailer, to the customer. Okay. And so I guess in certain scenarios, you could be the retailer as well, or you could be the wholesaler, where you could be the middleman. If you have a bunch of customers and you know a manufacturer, then you could be the retailer to provide these services for your customers. Okay. And then the thing to think about also is that the customer can be an individual, or the customer could be a business as well. So people often get confused by direct and indirect distribution. So direct is this person has talked to you directly. You've either looked at them in the face, they've emailed you, you've spoken to them on the phone. They went to your physical location or your website, or they called your phone, and you know their name and they've directly purchased, and you would like see their sale in your banking, right? That'd be a direct sale. Indirect is an agent hired you, or a wholesaler, you sold it to them, and then they sold it and they got a bunch of clients and they sold your products indirectly. And so people would experience your products and they could potentially become a direct client later, but in that sale, they were an indirect sale, okay? And so some classic ones are job listings, agents, salad, and then like we just saw for more physical products, wholesalers and retailers. Operations. So most of us operate pretty small scale businesses compared to some larger scale businesses, but you again really want to have a clear understanding of what the day-to-day running operations of your business are, from open to close. Like if you're a retail store, from the time the first person steps in to the last person leaves, you know, what is the training manual essentially of how your operations are run? And the more you can get clear on this, then you would create like an operations manual, which becomes your training manual, which then allows you to step away from your business so that you don't have to say the words every single time when you hire new employees. Okay. And then it also just gives your investors peace of mind that you actually have a functioning business that operates, and you understand how operation of business in general and of your business works. Yeah. And then a clear understanding of your management team. And so you might be a sole proprietor, you might be business partners, or you might have board of directors for your business. But below that, you can branch your management into teams, right? And so you can have leaders, team members, and you can see where your management gaps are. And this is where a lot of people, I think, also have holes It's like, if you're like me, I'm running my entire business by myself. And so if I look in this management section, I'm like, oh, well, done, all done, it's just me, move on. But here you kind of want to think up, like, what is the most successful version of your business and how many people does that entail? And this could also be where needs start coming up, right? You're like, ooh, it'd be great if I had more management and team. And so then you can propose hiring new people and you can really give them a fully functioning idea of what your business is, right? Or if you don't have money to hire these people that you need, then you would get a potential donor or investor to give you the money that you needed to like jumpstart getting the team members on board. Some classic team members that you might want are founder, which is you, giving some information about yourself as well. Chief executive officer, chief operating officer, chief financial officer, chief marketing officer, chief technology officer. These are like classic head of department titles that you could give to somebody potentially wanting to come on board. So remember, you can name yourself anything, you can give yourself any type of professional title. So these could be some potential titles that you could either give to yourself, your business partner, or hiring on new team members. And you're going to realize you have a lot of gaps. Most people do. And you're like, ooh, wow, I didn't even think about a financial officer or having a marketing director, somebody outside of myself. And then if you go back to, business partnerships module where we go over the roles matrix diagram, then you can really start to like divide up tasks into your management groups here and really figure out, okay, here's where some activity gaps are and who's willing to take on those roles. If you're a nonprofit organization, you're gonna need to have board members. It's legally required. And so you'll definitely need to have a head of the board. This person is, the most important decision maker when it comes to just on paper. And then you have the board of directors, which are directly below the head of the board. And then you have other board members who are participating and active in the business. And then you also must have a separate treasurer, somebody who's publicly taking a record of what's coming in and what's going out in the nonprofit. Next, you're going to want to have a financial plan. This one can be a little difficult emotionally for people to really reflect back what their finances currently are for their business. And a lot of times once you really do your financial plan, you realize, wow, I'm not where I thought I was. And this is where, again, the concept of finding investors will kind of come up. Like, ooh, okay, wait, I need more management. I need more money in my financial plan. And you can start again to see where your gaps are so that you can leverage that in your proposal. Okay. So you're going to want to have just a general revenue model of like, these are my products and services. This is how much they cost. This is how many I'm selling a year. And so it should generate this much. And this is how I'm taking it in. And just from your business model, general idea of like, this is the general financial structure of my business. And then you want to highlight any like large successes. Like for me in my business, through the Performer's Guide, some financial highlights are I've helped some of my clients get up to $30,000 in financial aid, so in grants. So that's a financial highlight for me. And so I can list all of those and other highlights. And then also for myself, like I received over $25,000 in funding, outside funding from my business last year. And then projecting into the future, maybe you see some grants, loans, other projection things you want to get in the near future, as well as you should be able to look at what your sales have been over the past few years and see what the sort of ratio scale is, and kind of guess what next year's projections are going to be, your next quarter's projections. Some people do their projections by quarterly so that they can really keep track of how much did I make versus last 3 months, and then how much did I make versus this time last year, and then that can help me do math to project what the next 3 months are going to be like, and that's really helpful for funding. And then any additional funding requirements, right? You might look and go, ooh, I need this, I need that, I need other funding, and this is where, again, it's going to go to the investor. So your revenue model, you will have likely done that through your business model, okay? And so that's just really simply, what are you selling, and who are you selling it to, for how much, and what was the cost for that? And then your highlights, again, you want to think big. We don't want to go little highlights here, and really important highlights, okay? Less is more. So when you're going through your financial projections, you want to think of your income or your revenue and your expenses, and then also your profits. And profits could be through investment, income percentage increases, or other percentages, right, that aren't necessarily tied to your income and expenses. And so if you can look back 5 years, that's really helpful. But some people are operating in a first or second year business trying to get funding, in which case you might have a shorter window to look at, in which case you would just sort of multiply that and project that these 3 months times the next 9 months will be my projected income expense, right? And it's just ballpark. We really just sort of want to, like, are we talking about 20,000, 100,000, a million, 500? You know, it's like, we just want to have a kind of idea of what scale of business we're talking about here. Really focus on the funding requirements, you know, and what investors want to see is that you're mostly a fully functioning business and you have just a few funding requirements, and that you're already getting funding from multiple sources, because funders don't want to be in a codependent relationship with someone who needs them for all of their funding and they're the only one they're getting the funding from. And so you really want to be clear of how much funding you need, what you're going to use it for, and what their return on the investment is going to be. And you want to be really specific and clear about this, because if you do the math wrong, you can't go back and ask them for more money, right? Or if the numbers aren't correct and the return on investment is vastly different than what you had promised, then they're not likely going to give you more money in the future, okay? And so the funding requirements also allow you to create a healthy relationship between you and your donor that is very clear on, this is what I need, this is what I'm using it for, this is what you're going to get back. And then also, here are some of the other people I'm getting funding from. So not all of the rest lies on them. And obviously, if you're sending your first proposal, then you'll just let them know that here are my other potential funding donor ideas. Okay, exit strategy, last and certainly not least, often, honestly, completely overlooked. How are you going to exit this business? And there's a few ways you can exit a business. It can completely fail, and you can go into so much crippling debt that you have to just kind of bail on the business. You could die. It's an easy, you don't have to worry about anything, right? You just die and then your business is done. you could sell your business is really the third and most viable option, in my opinion. If you start your business from the beginning with the mindset to sell it, you structure it completely different. And so you really want to be certain about how long am I going to be in this business? What is my exit strategy and how does that look? Because if you remember from the first video, when we talk about the basics of business, hardly any businesses are even making it past 5 or 10 years, right? And so it might be difficult to think that far down ahead in the line, but if you can, then you can put a little bit less emotional attachment on your business. You can create actual separation between you and your business, both in your banking and in your documents and in the way that you structure it, so that handover could be easy. And you just keep better track of things in the way that you're going to sell it. And I sold my last business to start this business. So if you can have a solid exit strategy, then you can use that as leverage to sort of start the next phase of your life. And I think that for me, this is kind of the beauty of starting businesses, is that I can start a business, create something, and then sell it or sell shares of it, or, you know, there's all these different ways you can leverage it to create quick income to bounce you to your next section in life, whether that be moving, starting a new business, going back to school. There's just so many things that you could do if you had a large chunk of money quickly. So have an exit strategy that is written down, because, you know, God forbid something quickly happen, or you and your business partner, this is especially important if you're going to business with somebody else, right? Like, what happens if they die, or what happens if you die, or what happens if they stop working, or what happens if you stop working, or debt. I mean, everything. There's just so many things that are included in your exit strategy that are completely overlooked when people start businesses. And I think that they jump into, like most relationships, right? This is going to be forever. And most relationships are not forever. They require graceful exit strategies. Okay. So it's time to write your business plan. Again, there's many different types of templates available. I will link my most preferred template down below in these modules. Thank you so much. And once again, my name is Krystin Railing, and this is the Performer's Guide.